Dear God in heaven, everything's going completely wrong here on WoW Radio. This is Blue Please, or Broke Please, as I'm about to call it for several reasons. See, my Nupcake News has now gone and will not load. See, what I was trying to do before the break was load in my Nupcake News, and it will not load. It crashes Sam, which is the broadcast program I use to do this show. So, that, well, quite frankly, sucks, to be brutally honest. Absolutely, completely sucks. So, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. For the first time ever, I am going to do Nupcake News live! Yes, you heard me correctly. Nupcake News live and improvised on the air, using only my script and a board full of sound effects. Bring it on. Technical problems be damned, we are made of awesome. Right, let's get back on with the show. Now, it has to be said that attunements have been something of a sticking point within the World of Warcraft community over the past few weeks. Specifically because, well, everything seems to require attunements these days. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. So, let's have a look. Go to the Burning Crusade attunements page to see what requires attunements. That's worldofwarcraft.com/BT attunement. worldofwarcraft.com/BT attunement. Yeah. Have a look at it. And you will see stuff like Hayal. You need all of this stuff, and you can hover over any of these, and it'll tell you what you need to get into it. Now, people apparently have something of a problem with this. Recently, the Black Temple attunement has been something of a sticking point. There's been a lot of sticking points in the WoW community recently. That does seem to be a common theme. They're a very sticky group of people. Why, we shall never know, and hopefully, I just don't want to know. That's all I can say. So, have a look at the WorldofWarcraft.com forums. Go and have a look at the forums, and you will see people saying, is Black Temple attunement a joke? ZOMG. Does it suck? Why is it so difficult? Now, let me fill you in on the basics of Black Temple attunement. To get into Black Temple, you need to kill a boss in Mount Hayal. You need to kill Rage Winterchill, specifically. Rage Winterchill. First boss in Mount Hayal. Sounds simple, you may think. Haha, but of course you can't get into Mount Hayal until you have the Vials of Eternity. Where do you get the Vials of Eternity from? Lady Vash and Kael'thas. Okay, so you need to kill two exceedingly major bosses at the end of Serpent Shrine and Tempest Keep. Now, what do you need to get into Serpent Shrine, you may ask? Well, go and have a look on the BC Attunement page, and it will tell you. What do you do to get into Tempest Keep? Well, go and have a look at it. Serpent Shrine Attunement requires the Mark of Vash quest. Now, the Mark of Vash starts in Slave Pens Heroic. Go through Karazhan, through Ghoul's Lair to get into Serpent Shrine Cavern. Now, have a look at Tempest Keep. You need to do McTheridan's Lair. You need to have completed the Tempest Key. The Tempest Key requires you to do 3 heroics. Specifically, Steamvaults, Arcatraz, and by the looks of it, Shadow Labyrinth. I may be wrong, I haven't done that attunement yet, but that's what the chart says. So, you need to go and do those 3 heroics. Now, heroics, not exactly too difficult, in my honest opinion. I rather enjoy my heroics, I really do. So, what's the problem, you may ask? Has attunement ever existed in the past? Well, of course it has. I'm sure many of you remember the Onyxia attunement. A nightmare on legs. Or wings. Or perhaps legs and wings. A horrific combination of quests which resulted in nothing more than frustration and my stabbing in eye. Rearrange these words to form a popular phrase. Horrible, horrible questline. Not least because you had to go and do bloody LBRS, an instance which will remain in my mind. A scar. Pain on my consciousness. And a stain on my soul. It is that horrible. Long, long questline. Now, the question is, why was that there in the first place? Did Blizzard justify it? The answer is yes, they did. To paraphrase what Blizzard said about the Onyxia attunement. At the time, Onyxia was the only major raid encounter available for people who had reached level 60. Therefore, we wanted to make it challenging to get to. Okay, fair enough. Acceptable. So let's now apply that and go forward in time to Molten Core. What did Molten Core require you to do? Well, that wasn't exactly very difficult. It required you to skip through parts of Blackrock Depths, get a key, and then go into Molten Core. Woo! That's it. That's all you need to do. It can be done in 10 minutes. I know this because I've done it in 10 minutes. if you know where you're going, and you're stealthy enough... Oh, and did I mention a rogue can solo it? Or a druid, in fact. Yes, they can. Okay, so let's go on. Blackwing Lair. What achievement did you need for Blackwing Lair? You had to go and kill a few elites, pick up a piece of paper, then go into Upper Blackrock Spire and kill Dracasath. Except for that, you didn't actually need to kill Dracasath at all. You just need to touch his orb, which is what I actually did. I recall going back into UBRS, and I was with a pug, and they were sucked. And they were on Dracasath, and they were wiping on Dracasath. So, instead of standing there and wiping, I ran over to the orb, nabbed the attunement, and then teleported out of the instance. Yes, I am a bastard. What can I say? I am a complete and total bastard. I should rename myself Total Bastard, in fact. So the question is now, what happens? Where do we go from there? Anchorage. Was attunement required? No. A big-ass long war effort was. Let's just call that a server-wide attunement. You had to go through a whole bunch of quests and open the gates. So technically it wasn't an attunement, but it was a one-off attunement for the entire server. I actually quite like that, apart from the fact, of course, that the war effort was incredibly boring. The events and the questline surrounding it were very good indeed. I enjoyed them. It was suitably epic. Yes! I did just say. Soundbites make me funny. So aside from that, no attunement required. Naxxramas attunement. Very easy. Very easy indeed. You required a certain level of reputation with the Argent Dawn, which you'd have probably got anyway if you'd actually been running Scholomance or Stratom to begin with. So, not too difficult. Then you had to pay a few resources. Again, not too difficult. If you were Exalted, you got in there for free. Revered was incredibly cheap. I believe I was Revered at the time. It didn't cost me bugger all, like an Arcanite bar and a couple of things. Woohoo! Very expensive, or not, as the case may be. So there's your attunements. Zilgarub, of course, required no attunements. Anchorage 20 required no attunements. There's your attunements, from bottom to top. Now, at this point, you're questioning why attunements are even in the game in the first place, because let's have a look at the justification that Onyxia had for it. Blizzard's Onyxia justification was this. You have this instance. This is your only raid content right now. We want to make it vaguely challenging to get there. Now, of course, that's no longer true. And it wasn't true when Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Anchorage, Zilgarub, and Naxxramas actually came out. It ceased to be true, yet the attunement remained. Let's apply that to Burning Crusade. Attunements. Attunements are in fact required for quite a few things, including heroics, as you're well aware. That's in there. It's not raid content, but attunements are required regardless. You need to get to Revered with a certain reputation in order to get it. Now that is not difficult. Now let's go on, let's look. Karazhan attunement. What Karazhan attunement is required? You need to do like 4 instances. Or is it 3? I can't recall. Not very many. Didn't take very long at all. I did it in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Not too tricky. Okay, so let's continue. What else have we got? Gruul's Lair. Attunement. There isn't any. Gruul's Lair requires no attunement whatsoever. At all. So that's fine. Magtheridon. What do you need to do to get to Magtheridon? You need to go and do... Let's have a look at the Burning Crusade attunement chart. Oh yeah, nothing! Magtheridon's Lair does not, in fact, require attunement. So, you've got 2 Onyxia-style raids right there. 2 smaller scale raid instances with, of course, with Gruul's Lair you've got 2 bosses, Hiking Mulgore and Gruul himself, and then Magtheridon you have Magtheridon, and that's it. They don't require attunement. Now that is odd. That always struck me as very, very odd. Why would they not require attunement? Well, the question is, what are they aimed at? Could you argue, though, in fact, that Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon were aimed at casual raiders, as in those who do not have a lot of time? The casual raider argument has always been, well, this is just of course, a group of people who've always been arguing this. I'm not going to say that they speak for the majority, but the, quote, casual raiding argument has always been, well, we're just as good as all of these other guilds, but we don't have the time, so give us something that we can do in our time. Okay, then Blizzard says, what are we going to give you? Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon. Well, only that, you don't even have to attune yourself for it. Wonderful. Now have a look at the rest of it. All big time-consuming instances with lots of bosses all require attunement. But then again, that's not the original purpose of attunement, surely. That's not why it was there. Serpent Shrine attunement, Tempest Keep attunement, quite heavy. Karazhan attunement, not particularly heavy as regards to time-consuming or difficulty. And Hayal, probably the most insane, of course, with Black Temple following up there. Hayal requiring you to finish both Tempest Keep and Serpent Shrine. Now, here's the problem. And I'm very, very split-minded. My mind is divided on this particular issue. Is attunement good, or isn't it? I'm struggling to find the purpose of attunement at this point in time. I really am. I can't really find much of a justification. I do look for it, I really do. I like to present a balanced viewpoint, and I really don't like idiots, and there's a lot of ranting idiots on about attunement these days. But in this case, I can't actually think of a good reason. I really can't. I cannot honestly think of a good reason why attunement is still in the game. Some people will say, well, it stops you from going into an instance that is a little bit too difficult for you. Okay, fair enough. So, what stopped me before? If I'm a level 70 and I wander into Gruul's Lair or Magtheridon's Lair, am I not going to get owned? Of course. But then again, that was my choice, wasn't it? Same with Anchorage 40. Anchorage 40 didn't require attunement. A Molten Core guild could wander into Anchorage 40 and get themselves owned on the first few trash. And whose fault is that? Is that Blizzard's fault? No. It's the fault of the guild. A decision made by them. A foolish decision, but a decision nonetheless. Certainly an interesting idea there. So what are we looking at? The idea of linearity. As in, you go here, then here, then here. And by here, then here, then here. Let's try and draw out a plot of where you have to go. The Burning Crusade Instance Attunement chart divides things into Raid 1, Raid 2, and Raid 3. I think that is bogus. Why? Well, you tend to do Karazhan before you do Gruul. You'll do most of Karazhan, then you'll maybe down Mulgore. You might finish Karazhan, then you'll kill Gruul, and then you'll go into Magtheridon's Lair. Logical progression right there, yeah? You'll do that and that and that. In fact, to get into Serpent Shrine, you need to do Gruul. To get into Tempest Keep, you need to do Magtheridon's Lair. Okay? So this stuff has to be done first, and there's your progression. Karazhan, Gruul, Magtheridon. Then Serpent Shrine, then Tempest Keep. Now, once you're into Serpent Shrine and Tempest Keep, you may not finish Serpent Shrine before you attempt Tempest Keep, because, well, there's the Void Reaver and Astromancer Solarian are arguably doable. Don't ring me now, please. How rude. They're arguably doable. You can do those instances, and you can kill a couple of bosses in them. That was very much the way that it used to be. If you go back and have a look at, again, AQ40, Prophet Skerrim was not a particularly difficult boss. Most would argue that, in fact, some Blackwing Lair bosses were more difficult. So you'll find that a lot of people still wiping on the Nefarian would have killed Prophet Skerrim. Yeah? They'd have killed Prophet Skerrim. What about Nax? People who hadn't killed Cthulhu could, in fact, go and kill the Nubrokan, and they could, in fact, go and kill Vesuvius, and maybe even Faerlina if they were feeling really saucy. They might not have even downed Huhuran, and they could have still killed those bosses. Now, the thing is, that was there. The option was there. It really was. It was there for players to explore at their leisure. It was there for them to make their own mistakes. Now, WoW's always been a little bit about hand-holding, very much so. You get your hand held, and that is not necessarily a bad thing, because the players don't really like feeling lost, let me put it that way. They hate it. They absolutely despise it. Which is why a lot of people liked WoW in the first place. It was not a game that you could get easily lost in. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a solid idea to base your game on. Make it friendly for people who are not necessarily into MMORPGs to begin with. Drag them through by the nose. They will thank you for it later. Well, at least they would if the WoW community were not incredibly bitchy. So what can we conclude as regards to attunements? Well, there's various ways of looking at it. You can look at it, well, you're complaining about Black Temple attunement, yet you're not going to get there. You are not going to get to Black Temple anytime soon, so the attunement is irrelevant. You're not going to go into Black Temple before you have killed these two bosses. This was, in fact, in the game previously, except for the fact that the attunement wasn't there. It's like, you need a certain level of gear to down this boss. It's like, well, you can't go into Nax until you've got at least some maybe Blackwing Lair gear. You're not going to go in there in Tier 1 and kill the Nubrokan. It's just not going to happen. So what it seems to me like, Blizzard is dragging people again by the nose. It's what they're good at least when it comes to World of Warcraft. They are very good at dragging people by the nose, in fact. And that's exactly what they're doing with attunements. Whether that's justifiable or not, well, I'll let you decide. Email themurloc@gmail.com with your opinions, and I shall read them out after the break. Attunements, good or bad? themurloc@gmail.com. I'm going to play some music while I try and set up for this live Nubcake News, because my Nubcake News has disappeared. Oh god, this is going to be a disaster. Just like this show, one big train wreck of horribleness. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Here's a bit of Masugana with Hostiles. Enjoy.